Hi everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with JS Hobbies and Crafts, and I have got a really cool stationery box to show you. Now, at first glance, it doesn't look like much but a box, but as soon as we take off the lid, you're going to be pleasantly surprised at what is on the inside and how much this actually holds. What this is it's a place to store all your cards, your envelopes, gift tags to small gift cards. We have pockets here. We have a place to store our stamps in one little convenient little flip fold here. We also have a really cool notepad. And this notepad, these just tear right on out our little tablet. And we have a pencil, we have our sentiments in a pocket, we have a lot of stuff inside here. So join me for the project overview, what we will be making today. It is a lot of fun. I have made several of these, and I just keep making more of them. They're great for gift giving, for sure. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to bring up. In May, I was invited for the blog hop. Shellie Geigle of Decorate Your Life. A lot of you know who she is. Very talented crafter. She invited us to join in. So there's going to be a lot of prizes that you can win. I'll be giving away a mini album and a few other things too. So we'll have a list there of all the blogs that are included in the blog hop. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you hop to each one and join in on their giveaway prizes. And also take a look at all the really cool crafty projects you'll find on each page you visit. Okay, it's time to check out our really cool stationery box we're going to create today. Okay, we are at our project overview, and I have the camera zoomed in so you can see really well. And you can see the top and the back, sides. So let's open this up, and I'm going to lay out everything that this has to offer. And I'm also going to show you what it actually looks like here. Isn't that cute? And it just stands up by itself. I think I'm going to tilt that back a little bit so you can see. Okay, so everything that this has to offer. Again, this does sit up, so it stays stationary for you. Let's go down here. What we have down here is a little pocket, and inside will hold some stamps. So I cut mine to where they're two stacked, and they just fit right in here. And you can put more stamps in there. Here is our notepad, and these actually tear out nicely and easily, and we do create that together. We got our pencil holder or pen holder. And here what we have is a bunch of sentiments in a pocket. And these are all from the collection that the paper collection that I used. I think this comes out so cute. Another one of my favorite to do this with is the Heartfelt Creations Berry Fun Retreat paper. I made my cousin one, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Over here is a little extra pocket. Okay. We have a pocket here, smaller pocket. We have a medium pocket, and back behind here is a larger pocket. And you'll be able to see that shortly. I have all my tags, and I also have some extra long sentiments. Now those can actually fit right in this pocket. I'm going to lay out all my cards so you can see exactly what this all can hold. I have 3 tags, however, I can get a lot more in this pocket. It's pretty deep. So I'm
just going to lay these out. These are just some small little tags or notes that you can use. In this other pocket, which is our medium pocket, I have some smaller gift cards. And we do make some tags and cards together in this tutorial as we get to the end of it. So you're going to be able to see just how much this can hold. Okay, I'm going to grab everything out of this, and that's a very large pocket. I have about 10 standard envelopes here. And I made some very easy cards. So using the panels in this collection, and you can add your sentiments to these stamp, or this card is perfectly fine just as it is. Here's another. This one I used a sentiment with the panel. This one I actually used a die cut to show you how you can use die cuts as well for easy card making. And I have quite a bit here. So that is what we will be making today. So a little short background on this. I did not make this up. Actually, what had happened was Mel Alder, who works for JS Hobbies and Crafts, she actually made me, Jessica, and Holly one for Valentine's Day. And I thought, oh my gosh, these are adorable. The one that she made me, I kind of just looked at it and did my own measurements, and so I don't know if they're exactly the measurements that she did. I did add a few things like the side pockets and stuff. She was using this pocket as for her stamps, which is perfectly fine too if you don't like the pocket idea. So, and they just all go back in. Now if you want to have smaller envelopes, you can stack those in here too. Easy, put back in, just stack them all up. So when I asked Mel if she had made this up, she said no. Now she said that she found a tutorial from about 10 years ago from a gal, and I can't remember for the life of me the name of the lady. I wish I could remember right now so I can give some credit. But that is where she came up with the idea, is by going over and watching that. So this is just a great gift idea, or for your office or home, you can just kind of grab what you need. Cards are ready to go, and so forth. So I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Let's move on in to the materials list. So let's go over the materials list. There's really not much to this. I'm going to be using the Heartfelt Creations Birds and Blooms paper collection, and this is just gorgeous. And not only will this cover my stationery box, but it will give me for my cards for the inside. So this is just absolutely gorgeous paper, and as you can see, so this is going to make my cards for the inside very simple. Okay, what you're going to need is some 12 by 12 cardstock. Now you can use black or white. I am using the Coordinations Premium 12 by 12 Great White cardstock. What you might want to do is save your 12 by 12 if you don't use it much, and switch on over to 8.5 by 11 for your card bases. Okay, in this stationery box, I will be using the Nuvo Crystal Drops, and this is Ivory Seashell. I will be making some small little flowers for my stuff. I won't be using prills for the inside. I decided I'm going to use my Nuvo drops. And then I can also use this for my pearls, going around or whatever I wanted to do. So love this stuff. I might be using a little bit of stickles on my flowers. I won't be using a ton of flowers, so check your stash for some smaller flowers or make your own. I am going to be making my own, and I'm just going to be using, not the large, but I'm in the Heartfelt Creations Small Sweet Peony stamp and the matching die. And I can shape these any way I want, and or I can shape it to make the flowers. And it does come with some leaves, so I'll be using that. I decided to use my butterfly punch for some butterflies. And this is just the EK Tools one, and there's 4 sizes of butterflies here. And for the inside of my butterflies, I'm going to just be dropping some Nuvo drops in there. Look like little pearls. And I might put a little stickles on the wing. For the inking of my flowers, I will be stamping them with Color Box pink. And then I'll use a little bit of Color Box's Sunflower and Color Box Orchid for the coloring. Wink of Stella, I'll be using that on some of my flowers. Okay, so that's pretty much as far as that. Anything else that I'm going to need is my adhesives. I'm going to be using Art Glitter Dries Clear Adhesive Glue. There is no glitter in it, and this is good for paper, resin, wood, whatever. And you'll definitely want to have a metal tip. And I'll be using a little bit of score tape. Now I'm going to be using the 3/8 inch wide score tape. And you don't need a whole lot of this. And in fact, you'll have leftovers. You're going to want some rubber cement. And I do sell this in my craft store, my online store, as well as in the store. Okay, you'll definitely need to have a scoring board for this project in your bone folder. You may want a craft knife. You'll want a pair of scissors, a ruler, a pencil, and of course your paper cutter. And that's it. Let's move on to making our stationery box. So we're going to start off with creating the base to our stationery box. And a quick word is I slipped this tutorial in before my launching of my mini album tutorial using the Stamperia Wonderland paper. I've been spread a little thin between teaching classes at the store and working here and everything, but I will give you a sneak peek because I am going on vacation May 7th for about a week. However, my goal is to have that mini album tutorial released. So sneak peek at what that's going to look like is this. And that's using the Stamperia Wonderland paper, 2 paper packs. So there's a sneak peek for y'all. All right, stationery box. So get your scoring board out, and you definitely want to make sure that your cardstock is 12 inch by 12 inch. And our first score line is going to be at 1 inch. Our next score is going to be at 3 inches. Our next one is at 9 inches. And then our next is at 11 inches. Okay. What we're going to do now is we're going to turn this once. Okay. So now our score lines are going like this. We're going to score at 5 inches and 7 inches. Okay. Let's turn this one more time back the way we originally had it, where our score lines are, the 4 score lines are going like this. Okay, so this is important because up here at the 2 inch mark, we're going to score down to this line right here. Okay, Then we're going to go over to 10 inches and we're going to score down to that line. Okay, we can set this off to the side. It's time to cut what needs to be cut. All right, let's just turn this around. So now what we're looking at is we have the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 score lines. Okay. Here's 1, here's 2. On this one here, we're going to cut all the way up until it meets that line that goes across. We won't be doing that up here. We do something different there. So let's just cut right on that. Oh, I'm shaking a little bit too much coffee today. There. So I'm just going to cut right on up. Okay, over here, we have a score line here, and then the next one. This is the one where we're going to cut up until it meets the one going this way. Trying to keep that as straight as possible. Okay, now we just have it like this, and you see where this is kind of a squarish look, rectangle. This line and this line meets this one. We're going to cut that out now. That is trash. Then we're just going to cut right on over this way. And this is where, for me, getting my little craft knife out is helpful. Okay, same thing over here. We're going to cut up and around there. Okay. So there is our base. Believe it or not, that is all there is to it. So all we want to do now is fold on all our score lines. When you're doing that, make sure that you are bringing this up even with the top. And the same thing here, and when you're folding over there, just make sure that you're not cockeyed. Okay, so this is what we have. This is going to fold in, and these two flaps actually come back and around. It's not going to be stable until we get our inner pockets in there, but that is how it sits, being that this would be the back and this is going to be the front. Let's set this off to the side and get our lid done. So we're definitely going to need that. For the lid, we're going to need a piece of cardstock cut to 6 3/8 inch by 10 3/8 inch. And let's just lay that down. We're going to be scoring at 2 1/8 inch on all sides. So 2 1/8. I'm going to turn it. 2 1/8. 2 1/8, and the last one being 2 1/8. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is on this side, the long side, we're going to cut here up to where it meets the scoring line that goes this way. So let's cut up. And we're also going to do it on this side. Okay, flip it around. We're also going to do it on this side. This is about the simplest craft project I can think of. And they're so much fun to make. They're great as gifts and just for your home office, just a quick note, just anything. Okay, so this is what we have. So right now our slits are up here and down here. Now from this corner here, you can see that, we're going to cut this all the way to where it meets that score line. just like that. Over here, we're going to do the same, from here to here. Let's turn that around, do the same thing. Okay, we do not need these. Let's fold on all of our score lines. It's time to get our glue out, and I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit here. Might be easier for you to see. Okay, these two flaps here that fold in, we're just going to apply glue to this flap as well as this one. And then these two come in, you line it up with those score lines, and then your side comes up. So most importantly, when you bring those sides up, make sure that your corners meet the way they're supposed to. So let's do that. Got my glue on there, making sure that is going to go up. And down here. Make sure I'm even. So that is what yours should look like. We're going to do the same thing over here, and all I do is tuck these in. And apply a little glue. So make sure all your glue is in your paper. It's all nice down in there. So there is our stationery lid. So I'm just going to fold this up really quick. And right now, like I said, this is all floppy, but let's just take a look at what we did till we get there. Your box lid should fit nicely over the top. Okay, let's set the lid off to the side here. We're going to be adding some of our decorative paper now, and we'll do that first before we add our inner pockets. I'm going to start with decorating the outside first. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. On the back, it looks like this. So what I'm looking at now is the inside of this. Okay, this down here is I'm going to flip that up. What I'm looking at is the front, what we're actually going to see in front if we're putting our box down. And then, of course, the lid would go down on top. I think this would make a very, very pretty base to go all the way around. And I have 2 sheets of this. So you're going to need probably both sheets of these handy. So my first cut, looking at your paper like this, where your stripes are here, I'm going to measure over 4 7/8 of an inch and cut. I want to make a pile for leftover cardstock. It's called our scrap pile, also known as our reserves. So this is going to be placed in my reserves. Now looking at it like this, we're going to measure over 5 15/16. So if you have, one of my rulers, it's going to tell you exactly where that 5 15/16 is. It's that itty bitty line right before the 6-inch mark. And that's why I love this ruler. It spells it out for me, and I can get all the measurements needed accurately. Those are available in my store, by the way. So let's check and make sure we fit. We should have a little bit of a white border up above. And you should fit inside those 2 score lines, if you see. Okay. So I'm just going to apply some glue and glue that down. Remember, this is the inside, and then this would be the outside. So that is what we're gluing down. With this piece, we're going to do the same thing. Measure over 5 15/16 and cut. Okay, I have my piece. Now all I'm going to do now is just flip this whole thing over. You will see up here is where we're going to be placing this. And that should be a perfect fit just like the other one. So we're going to apply glue and glue that right on down there. And again, this should fit in between your two score lines. I got that down. I'm just going to flip this right on over. So right now what we have, if we were to close it up, we would be able to see like this. We need to get for this part. So I'm just going to lay this out. The larger flaps are off to the side. I grabbed my second sheet out of my paper pack. I trimmed off the little trim up here, as you can see. That goes in the trash. So once again, we're going to turn and look at our paper like this. We're going to measure over 4 7/8 of an inch and cut. This piece will go in our reserves, and this is absolutely beautiful, especially for a background print for our cards or on the inside. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to use this for. So into the reserves it goes. Okay. I want to try and match up my flowers, so of course my cuts are going to pretty much be the same for the sides and this, with exception of the width. We're already 4 7/8, so we should be exactly the same height as this one. So making this, when we do the little panel cuts, should flow along with this print. Okay, we are cutting for this larger panel here. We're going to measure over 1 15/16 of an inch, and we're going to cut. We're going to measure over again 1 15/16, and we will cut. So you should have 2 pieces. Check to make sure that they fit right in between those score lines there. Match it up with the top and bottom of your print over here so it stays even, as well as over here. So once you've verified it is fitting and you have no trimming to do, we're going to apply glue to the back, and we're going to glue that right on down. Now one tip I want to give you is, since we hand cut when we were cutting out this, sometimes we get off a little bit. They're not straight. So when you have this folded out, look to see how straight you are with the base here. If you are longer, whatever, what you can do is use your ruler, just line it up with the bottom of here. And anything that's hanging over there, you can use your craft knife, making sure you don't cut onto the base. And you can just trim it right on up to make sure it's straight. Okay. Just like so. And you can do it on over there. Okay, now we are on to these little pieces here. Looking at your paper like this, we're going to measure over 15/16 and cut. Then we will measure over again 15/16 and cut. I got mine cut, and of course I'm going to verify to make sure that I got the correct measurements, making sure I don't go over the sides. And if it's all good, then I can glue it down. So let's do that. Okay, I'm just going to grab this and flip it over. I still have some of this. I'm going to measure over 15/16 and cut. Measure over again 15/16 and cut. Because this is now where we need to place our paper. Once you cut your pieces, verify and glue these down. So we're going to put a piece for the bottom. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but I am. This is a great opportunity for me to grab this out of my reserves. Now I'm going to flip this over. I don't want to cut into this or this. So my first cut is going to be to cut down this way to divide these 2 panels. Put this in your reserves. Now what we want to do is between this panel and this, we're going to cut right on the line in between the blue and the green panel there, or border. We'll cut like that. Okay, this will go in my reserves. This piece, flip it on over. It's going to still be just a little bit wide for the bottom. So looking at it like this, measure over 1 7/8 of an inch and cut. Okay, now measure over 5 7/8 of an inch and cut. Verify that this is going to fit right down in there, and we'll have some white borders on the sides and the top. Once you verified, let's apply glue and center that right there on that little panel. Now that we've added decorative paper to the outside, you'll find that this starts to stiffen up. These two short ones here folds in. This comes around the back. And there is the base of this. So we're going to put some paper now on the inside. I'm going to go wash my hands, and we'll start getting the inside all done up. Okay, so for the inside, I'll be using this full sheet, and in your paper pack you will find this, and on the back there are some panels. Okay, let's turn our sheet. Looking at it like this, measure over 4 7/8 of an inch and cut. Okay, this larger piece we will be using, but let's just stick this into our reserve pile. Now, looking at our sheet like this, we're going to measure over 5 15/16 of an inch and cut. Okay, this piece here is going to fit right in between these two side flaps, and if you were to pull it in, they should not interfere with your score lines. They should fit nice right in between there. And up and down, you should be fine, and it should not hit this score line. So let's apply glue and glue this right on down, bringing it all the way to the top, just leaving a little bit of white showing there. Okay, this is our leftover piece from this, and there is a darker green side here, and then there's lighter. On this side, we're going to measure over 7/8 of an inch and cut, and then what we're going to do is, once we cut that off, we're going to measure over 7/8 of an inch on this side and cut. So this is what you should have left. This piece here we can put in our reserves. Okay, let's verify it fits. The darker piece goes over here because we're darker. And we're just going to lay that right on down. We're not going to glue it down yet, and I'll tell you why in a moment. We're just going to verify that it fits, giving us white border on each side, top and bottom. And over here, the darker part of the green where it fades to lighter goes on this side. So once we know that, we will stick these off to the side. Let's grab this back out of our reserves. And we're going to turn it, looking at it like this. The birds are up here. We're going to measure over 1 7/8 of an inch and cut. You can just set this right off to the side. We'll be getting to that in a moment. Okay, the first thing we want to do is just measure over 2 inches and cut. You can stick this small piece that we just cut off into our reserves. Now, looking at it like this, and it's lighter over here, darker over here, we're going to measure over 5 15/16 of an inch and cut. We can stick this smaller piece back into our reserves. This piece, let's verify that we fit right in here. Make sure you are not on your crease or on this crease. Okay? And it should fit side to side, giving you a little bit of white on each side. If you need to trim off just a little bit more, do so. Once you know that it fits, apply glue, and we're going to glue that down. So we got this back out of reserves, and the first thing that we're going to do is turn it like this, measure over 4 7/8 of an inch, and cut. You can put this long strip back in our reserves. We're going to measure over from this side 7/8 of an inch and cut. All right, keep this handy. We're going to continue to cut on that, but let's lay this down. And what you're going to want to do is verify that you are away from the the little score line here, you should have a little bit of white over here. And when you glue this down, you're going to make sure that you are even spacing from top to bottom, and you should see a white little border here and here. So let's apply glue and glue that down. Let's measure over 1 15/16 of an inch and cut. Okay, let's just line this up top to bottom with our little piece here. Place it down and make sure that you fit in between your score lines, which you should. Apply glue and glue that down. Again, making sure you are not on that score line. Grab this piece, measure over 5 15/16 of an inch and cut. Verify you fit in between your score lines there. Lining it up with the top and bottom of this panel, apply glue and glue that down. Okay, on this piece, measure over 1 15/16 of an inch and cut. Verify that you're going to fit in between, which you should, and glue that down. Last piece, measure over 7/8 of an inch and cut. Stick this little sliver of paper in your reserves. Let's verify that we fit. And then you can just glue that right on down. Now, there's a reason why we don't glue these down just yet, and you'll find out. But for now, let's kind of pull in these sides here. Pull our base box up, linking this corner with the corner down here, like so. And you should all be even. Now feel how stiff this has become. And I use 65-pound cardstock on mine. Now let's grab the lid and stick the lid on, and it should be a nice snug fit. Everything even. Okay, we'll do the lid last, but let's get ready to place our base pieces of pockets. That's going to keep this upright. We're going to stick this off to the side for now. We're going to get into creating our pockets, so you'll need your scoring board. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 4 inches by 7 7/8 of an inch wide. And we're going to lay this down on our scoring board, so we are 7 7/8 of an inch across. Okay. We're going to score at 1 inch. And we're going to score at 6 7/8 of an inch. Okay. We're going to rotate this once, and we're going to score at 1 inch. We're going to take our scissors, and as you can see, you see a little square down here. We're just going to cut that little square's corners out. And then we're going to fold on our score lines. And when you are done, you're going to pretty much have something that looks like this. Okay? Okay, so what we are going to do is actually get our decorative paper to lay on the base first. So let's get this out of the way and bind our paper. In your paper pack, you will find this beautiful print, and on the back it looks like this. So because I want to use some of this in some of the inside, even though we're going to be using this side for the large pocket, we're going to be cutting looking at it like this with this side up. Okay, so looking at it like this, where the bird is over here and we have birds down here, we're going to measure over 5 13/16 of an inch and cut. For now, stick this piece in your reserves. Okay, let's turn our piece. So looking at it like this, to where your little bird's off to the bottom right, we're going to measure over 2 7/8 of an inch and cut this in reserves for now. Now let's just flip that over. So right now just pull in those back flaps, and you can pull this bottom piece up behind so all you see is what we need to cover. Lay this down. You should have a white little border on the top. Okay, and it should fit side to side. You may see just a little bit of white border on each side, and that is what we want. If you can't see the white border on each side, then just trim just a little bit off. Once you know that that is good, we can glue that right on down. Okay, I think we need to place this in our book. Okay, let's get some score tape out. We're going to lay score tape right, you'll see where your crease mark is there. We don't want to get it on the crease mark, so we're just going to go right underneath that, lay our score tape, and we're going to lay our score tape in between here too. And I'm going to the edge first. Now to get in here, you can use your 1/4 inch score tape, or you can place a little glue, or you can overlap your score tape. I'm going to be overlapping mine, but it's easier since there is quite a bit of overlap there. I'm going to remove this one, then I'm going to place this one. Okay, inspect your piece, turn it over. If you can see any score tape peeking over the side, you'll want to clip it. Okay. We need to add score tape to the sides now. And we're going to do the same thing, just to the right of that crease when we do this side. And we just need 2 strips over here, one at the outer edge. Same thing goes over here, making sure we don't get on that score line. Okay, clip off any score tape that you can see peeking over the edge, and then we're going to get ready to place this in our book, or in our box actually. The easiest way to place our first piece is going to be the bottom. Now I'm going to show you this so you can see, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see exactly where I'm placing this. Okay, so there is my crease right back there. See? When I place this, remove the score tape there. When I place this, notice how I don't go all the way to the edge. I actually have this centered between the 2 sides. So when I place this, it's going to place right up. I'm going to hold this up straight, and I'm going to be placing that down. So, fair warning on that one, on how to place that for best results on your stationery box. So I'm just going to go hold this straight up, and I'm just going to place that. I'm going to push it against this, and then I'm going to just kind of clamp that down and smooth it out. So now what's going to happen is when I fold these in, this piece, when I fold these in, this piece actually comes, and you can see how this now all fits together to form the box. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is release the score tape on the sides, and I'll show you how I get it to line up. I'm going to do one side at a time. I'm going to pull this in. I'm going to match up the side of this right in that crease so that it stays. So once I got it there in that crease, that's when I pull in the side. And it should line up perfectly. Just want to make sure you smooth that down. Same thing over here. I'm going to find that crease back here, and I'll pull in my sides, making sure it's all down. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that's what we have. Okay, now your box should be standing upright all by itself with these down. I am going to zoom out. Let's set this to the side and get our other pockets. This is our medium pocket, and we are going to cut a piece of cardstock that is 2.5 inches by 5.25 inches, and then we're going to get our scoring board out. Lay your piece on your scoring board so you are 5.25 inches across the board. Now this pocket, the scoring is just a little bit different than the large one. We're going to score at a 1/2 inch, okay, 1 inch, 4.25 inches, and 4.75. Okay, let's turn our piece once, and we're going to score it at a 1/2 inch. Let's set this off to the side. Okay, so for cutting, I'm going to bring this up. You see where that inner score line is, and you see where the line goes across. We're just going to go up to that line and cut out, and I will show you mine. If I can get the score tape off my scissors. So we have here, and we cut over. Same thing. And once we do this, we can now fold on our score lines. Okay, one thing is before we actually place this one, I like to get my decorative paper ready to go to cover this. Not only that, but also to cover these inside little piece flaps. Even though we'll have score tape on this side, this is white part's going to be exposed. So it's easier to get that now. So we're just going to lay this out and find our paper. Let's grab this piece out of our reserves. It has the bird and little birdhouse here. We're going to turn our page looking at it like this, and we're going to measure over 3 1/8 of an inch and cut. Let's put this off to the side or just off to the side. We'll get to that momentarily. Measure over 3 inches and cut. Okay, this piece here set off to the side, we're going to need it. Let's just check to make sure if we were to pull in our sides there, and we pull up the bottom, so all we're looking at is what we need to cover. If you were to place this, you will see that you will fit side to side. And if you center it, you should have just a little white line on each side. However, what we want to do is bring this up. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is if we move it over more so that we can see more where the top ledge is. What we can do is just lay that right on down, and where that top ledge is, just make a pencil mark. Now let's cut. You should not be cutting into the head of the bird. If you put this on your paper cutter and you see that you're going to be chopping off the bird, you're going to go just above that bird, and then you can trim off the bottom to make it fit. This is what you should have, and keep this handy too, just in case we need it. So now place it, and you should fit nicely, right like that. Let's apply glue, erase any pencil marks that you might have made, and glue that down to the front. I got mine down, and if I was to pull this back and these in, that's what it looks like. Okay, it is time to get our side piece, but we only need a side piece for the left side, and it's going to be for this one, not the outside one, because this one's going to have score tape. So actually, we should probably put our score tape on so we don't make a mistake on where we need to place our stuff. So let's grab our score tape. You're going to want to put one right down the center on the right hand side of that flap. You're also going to want to put one right down the center of the second little flap here. And we're going to trim off any score tape that is peeking over. Okay, so for this side, the only place we want to put it is on the outside little panel here, right down the center. And we're going to leave this one alone. Okay, you should have a cutting just like this if you're following along. It's not this one, it's this one. So we're just going to place this down so that it is even with the top of our decorated paper here. And we're going to make a pencil mark where it's even with the decorated paper here without going over the flap. Okay. Now, to fit inside this, you might want to tuck that back. And we're just going to do this by using a pencil. Make sure you are not on the crease. And you'll make a pencil mark on where to cut that. So my first cut is going to be this way, and then I'm going to cut it this way. Okay, so here is my piece, and you still have one of these left. If you were to flip it over, this is what you would have. All I'm going to do is place this one on top of this, and I'm going to cut it for the same. Real easy. Okay, so the green is going to be for that side. This one is for here. So once you verify that you fit, glue that down. Okay, so leave this alone here because we'll use it to cut for the inside. We're just going to flip this right on over. Verify that this is going to fit inside that first panel here, because what's going to happen on the side there is when we wrap this around, it's going to show the green when we place it up against the green large panel. So this is a good fit. I'm going to go into my reserves here. I'm going to find this piece here. Okay, all I'm going to do is just kind of match this up, because I'm going to need several. I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, I'm going to need 4 of these small little pieces. So for me, and I'm not going to get on this side, I'm just going to make a pencil mark here, how wide I need to be. And I'm going to cut. I hope that makes sense. So I've got my strip, and if it doesn't make sense what I'm doing right now, it will. So no worries. I'm going to match up this one to this, and I'm going to cut it the same. Okay. I'm also going to take this piece and cut it the same. So I'm going to have a total of 4 of these little strips. And this one. Okay, 4 strips. Just set those off to the side here. Let's get our piece. Let's grab a couple. And we're going to glue it down without going over the crease there. And you'll want to bring that all the way to the top so that you do not see any white cardstock. Okay, same thing goes right over here on this last flap. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is place 1 strip of score tape right down here. And you will cut any score tape that peeks over the edge. And this one is ready to place. And we're going to do the same technique as we did before, releasing this bottom score tape first. I'll leave those alone. So placing this, and I am going to zoom in. When I place this down like this, I'm going to leave approximately 1/16 of an inch away from the edge. So I'll place that right like that. Okay. Now I'm going to just fold these right on over. I'm going to release the score tape. Okay. Now this one won't have anything to go against, so leave this score tape on this side, right here alone. We just want the outside score tapes to be released for now. Okay, so when placing this, you're just going to bring this on back and line it up with the side. Whoops, line it up with the side of this one as best you can and press. This one, you're just going to bring straight to where you are straight on the side and press it up against. And then make sure that that score tape makes contact really good. So this is what you should have. It's time to get our small box or our small little pocket for over here. Cut a piece of cardstock. This is for our small pocket that is 2.5 inches by 4 5/8 of an inch. We're going to lay this down on our scoring board so that we are 4 5/8 across the board. Okay, we're going to score at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 3 5/8, and 4 1/8. We're going to rotate that once, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch. We can put our scoring board away for now. Okay, we're going to do the same thing we did before. There's a score line here and here. We're going to go on the inside one and cut up to the one going across. And then we're going to fold on our score lines. Now I had you set aside this piece right here. Fold up that bottom piece, that flap, fold in your sides. So all you're seeing is what we need to cover. This piece is going to go right here. So you can just lay that, giving yourself a little bit of a white border like we did on the other one. Lay it down. You should be able to see where the bottom of that pocket's going to be. And you're going to make a pencil mark and trim. Okay, this little piece, keep that. Okay, I still have this like that. I'm going to verify that my cut was good, and it was. So now all I have to do is, because I want this in the picture there, well, I'm just bringing that over. I'm going to go with it like that. And then I'm going to make a pencil mark over here where I need to trim. So let's do that. Okay, this little cutting that we just did actually will be very helpful. And we're actually going to do this right now with this. So on the right side is where it belongs. All we're going to do is place it, make sure that it fits inside, which it should perfectly. And we're going to glue that down. And it does not get glued to the outside. It's right here. The flap's here, that inside panel. So let's just glue that right on down. The next thing is we're going to grab this and we're going to glue that down on the front of our little pocket there. Let's apply our score tape, and we're going to run one on the outside panel here, one across the bottom. We already have score tape on the other one right here. So we're going to go right here on the outside. And we're going to clip off any score tape that is peeking over the edge. Okay, these little strips, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to apply glue to these, make sure they fit, and we're going to glue them to the outside little panels here. Got mine down. It is ready to place. Okay, So I'm going to kind of prop mine back like this to show you. And what I want you to do is don't remove any of your score tape yet. We're going to do this together without removing it so that you get the best chances of placing this accurately. So looking at your piece, I want you to hold in the side like so. Okay? And I should probably zoom in so you can see a little better what I'm actually doing. Okay, and I think that's a good view. What you're going to be looking for is not only to push this piece up against the back like we did before, but lining up the sides of these two pieces. Once you have that, don't worry about this side. Okay, once you have that all lined up, that's when you will push it back. This piece back here, you will push it back so that it goes against it flush. Okay? So let's get ready and remove our score tape. Okay, now remember, don't forget to remove the score tape off that. So again, we're going to just hold that in. We're going to make sure that that's flush. We're going to bring in our sides together so that they are even and they meet as best you can anyway. Okay, so I got mine. Now I'm going to push that all the way back against, like so. Now that should be set. I can put my finger in here to smooth that down and between here. Now I did not put any cardstock on the sides on the inside. I'm not too concerned. You can always do strips and place them in there now if you'd like using glue. Okay, this one. So this one we're just going to pull in our side and match it up against the side of this. So it's straight. And then we can press. And this is what yours should look like. Nice little pockets in there. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. Okay, the tablet. Now, creating the tablet so that when you are actually using the tablet, it will come off. We're going to work on getting that started, and then we will get our other pieces while that dries. For the tablet, all you need is one 12 by 12 piece of your white cardstock, and you're going to cut that down to 3 by 4, 3-inch by 4-inch pieces of cardstock, and that should give us enough in there. We're only going to have so much thickness there, and that should be plenty. If you're not using a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock to cut down to 3 by 4-inch pieces, I have a total of 12 3-inch by 4-inch pieces. Now remember, this is refillable, so if you run out, you can always replenish it. Okay, so this is where we're going to need some scratch paper to lay down on our workspace, and we're going to get our rubber cement. Now, rubber cement is kind of messy, and I am selling it in my store. I have a good type of rubber cement that I am selling. For now, I'm using up the rest of what I have here. Now this is messy kinda, so, and you may want to grab binder clips or clamps to help make this easier. So you're just going to make sure that you have your pieces lined up to where they're even. Now when you pull out rubber cement, this stuff just wants to go everywhere. So what we're going to do is brush on right on the edge there. Don't worry if you get it over the edge, it can be wiped up. So I like to goop mine up a bit. So it is like this, and then I like to be able to kind of go like this to get some in between. Just like that. If you've got a goopy mess like this, just wipe it off. And for me, I don't like to get my hands in it. It wipes off clear. Just make sure you are lined up. Okay, so now I'm just going to put a clamp down here and a clamp here, and binder clips work just as well. And I'm just going to make sure I got this, whoops, pretty good. Okay, all we have to do, that's all that's needed. We're going to allow that to dry. So in the meantime, we're going to work on the rest of what we need. Okay, I had you set these off to the side. Okay, there was a darker one, and then there was one that was faded down to the lighter green. So that one's going to go to the right, this one's to the left. We're going to be using glue to get these in here. And where it belongs is right in here. And that should slip down nicely, just like that. Lining it up with the top of the cardstock over here, leaving yourself a little bit of a white border. So let's apply glue and get the sides in here. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 3 3/8 of an inch by 8 1/2 inch. Once you have that, you should be 8 1/2 inch across the board. Score at 4 1/8 and 4 3/8. And then we're going to fold on our score lines. So here it is. Now all we need to do is find our paper to cover this. In your paper pack, you will find this. On the side, you'll see some borders, which we will probably be using on the outside of the lid. However, what we're looking for is this piece. Now on the back side, it does look like this. So that ought to be helpful in identifying which sheet I'm looking at. We're going to cut out and around this piece to get that panel out. Now that we've got this out, what we're going to do is cut out and around so all that we see is the pink border and the inside. And I'll show you what mine looks like. So this is what I got out. Now this is going to be too tall for this piece. So that is why we are going to pull this down so we can see. We're going to make sure that this is folded in half the way it's supposed to be. But we're going to center this. This should fit side to side. However, we may want to trim off just maybe a 1/16 of an inch here and here so we will have a white border around this. But all we're going to do, and it's easier for me to turn it like this, is to look to see how much I need to trim off the top and the bottom with still allowing a little bit of a white border. So I've got mine where I think it needs to be. So I'm going to grab my pencil and just make a little pencil mark here, here, and here. And I'm going to trim. I've got mine all trimmed up, and this is what it looks like. Now when I place it up against this, I will have that nice little white clean border around it. I'm ready to apply glue and glue that down. Remember this sheet that we had in our reserves? This is the one that I want. So I'm going to flip it over and look at it like this so that I don't cut into this. I'm going to measure over 3 7/8 of an inch and cut. I'm going to stick this back in my reserves. Okay, it doesn't matter now. I'm just going to flip it over looking at it like this. I'm going to measure over 3 1/8 of an inch and cut. Measure over again 3 1/8 of an inch and cut. Let's flip this up. This piece should fit nicely centered without hitting our little crease down there, score line. So we're going to glue that one down, and then this one will fit nicely back here. Now one thing is even though we're going to be having our notepad come down over it, I still wanted to do it like that. It's going to cover it and it's going to get glued down. That's okay. You don't even have to use this, but I'm going to do it. So I'm going to glue those down. Okay, this should be dry enough. If not, allow yours to dry a little bit longer. All we're going to do is go to the back side. And I'm going to come down about halfway there. Now when placing this, this is just going to place all the way up against, when you pull this up, all the way up against, centered, like so that this can still flop over. My glue is dry, so this gets placed. And when we place this, do not get glue on your little spacing there. This just goes to the back side all the way around. Placement. This gets placed right up here. Now you don't want to go over your score line there. All we want to do is place it. You'll give yourself a little space over there. And that is down. That should still be able to fold up nicely. Cut a 2" by 2" piece of cardstock. This is going to serve as a little pocket down here. Let's grab our scoring board. Let's place this on our scoring board at a 1/4 inch. Let's score. Rotate it once, score at a 1/4 inch. Rotate it again and score at a 1/4 inch. Okay, let's cut out those little square corners we have down there. Just cut up and over. We do not have a score line going up here. It's the opening of our little pocket. Okay, let's fold on our score lines. Okay, so I have this to where I'm like this. All we're going to do is cut at an angle this way and this way, just like that. So this is what you should have, and there's the flap. So with this, we're just going to use a little glue, and where we're going to glue is right here. Don't go over so far that it passes the side of this one. So we just need a little bit of glue there. And we're just going to fold that up. Okay, make sure that your glue did not seep down onto the cardstock. And what you can do for that is just slip a little piece of cardstock to make sure that you can still get in there. And I can. Okay, this is the front, and we're going to find some paper before we glue this down. Now, you should have some slivers of this when we cut down and around this panel here. We're going to put one of those aside. Okay, grab this out of reserves. We're actually going to get at this side of it. However, we're going to look at it like this, so we don't cut into this. Measure over 1 3/8 of an inch and cut. You can put this back in reserves. So now this should look nice, right like this. It fits side to side and giving us a white border on the side. So bring it down so you can still see a white border right here. Let's grab our pencil, measure it to fit, and cut it. Okay, erase any pencil marks off your little piece. Now remember, this is the top and this is the bottom. Let's just glue that right on down. Okay, with our little strip here, all we're going to do is measure that over to fit across the top there and trim it. Once you've got yours trimmed, apply glue and glue that to the top of your little pocket. It's time to place this, so let's just add some glue to those little flaps. Now you may want to cut a piece of cardstock to fit in there using some sort of scratch piece, whatever you have to fit down in there before gluing it down so that it catches any of the glue that might seep out so it doesn't seal this completely shut. So let's grab a little piece of cardstock that'll fit in there. Okay, I have a little piece and I'm just going to slide that right back in there so I can still grab it out. And I'm going to place this right here. Now, I don't want anything down here because that's where our pencil goes. But I don't want it so far up that I can't get any sentiments for any of the cards or whatever out of this pocket. So a good rule of thumb is just a little bit above this point here. And place it side to side. And you can move this in and out and press to get any glue that might seep. And there you have it. So we're going to let that adhere down. And we're going to move on to our little side pockets. Cut 2 pieces of cardstock that are 1 15/16 wide by 1 3/4 tall. Once you have yours cut, let's double them up to where we are looking at it. We are 1 15/16 wide. Now this is real simple. The reason why I'm having you double it up is so that you get the exact same cut for both sides. So I'm just going to move mine up about halfway up the side here and bring it all the way over to the corner. Okay, so now I know this one and this one are going to be the same, just like that. But don't glue it down yet because we do need to get our paper. Grab this back out from reserves and turn it around so we're looking at it like this so we do not get cutting into this because I'd like to save it, at least for me to work with. Measure over 1 7/8 of an inch and cut. We'll put this back in our reserves. Okay, so for this, if you were to lay it down, you would still be and center it. You would still be able to see a little bit of white on each side. That's perfect. Bring this up in front of it, okay, so that you're looking at it and your piece is even with the even amount of overhang on each side. And your tip is at the top of this sheet. So to get a good cut, we're just going to go like this and then we can trim it down. Okay, so we got that drawn. Let's just cut this. You can cut it with your paper cutter, which is probably the best thing, or by hand. Let's place this, and what we're going to do is center that so where we can still see a little bit of white showing. Flip it over. Now you can see how much overhang you have. And you can mark that with a pencil and trim. Okay, verify that you are going to fit. If you have to make any more adjustments on trimming, do so. But now you know exactly what is going to fit on this side. Now because I want this to sit here and this to be placed like that so we have pink over there, don't lay it down like this. You're going to have to turn this now over to get your pattern. Line it up, and now you can cut with your scissors. Let's see how I did. So here's one, and here's one. Bringing it down so I have a little bit of a lip. I look like I'm pretty good there. So I'm going to glue that down. Over here, I look pretty good, and I'm going to glue that down. So look in your reserves for a piece like this, the green, and it's clear, or not clear, but it's like the opaque look here. And all I'm going to do is measure over 1/8 of an inch and cut a long thin strip. Now we haven't glued these down yet. This strip I'm just going to place right here, trim it to fit, And I'm going to do the same for the other side. I'll be gluing that down. So I will cut another 1/8 inch strip so I can place it down against that. So let's do that. Okay, I've got mine. We're ready to place these. Now give it a slight little bend. Now I want to caution you, you do not want to bulk this out a ton. And the reason why is because when this folds in, this side is going to come over. So we can give it a little bit of a bend here. What I like to do is like a little bend here, bend out here, and then kind of like this. This should fit right there so it does not interfere with the folding mechanism there. So we're just going to add some glue to the sides, a little bit to the bottom, and place it. Once I get the sides down, then I can push this down. And it gives just a little bit of a little room to get in there. Now one thing is, on the one that Mel made me, she put the stamps in this pocket and didn't have these. So this was something I added because I thought, let's use the room, you know. Might as well if we can do that. And it gives us just a few more pockets, and it leaves me open to put sentiments in here, cut sentiments for use with my cards. Let's fold this up, and you should still have some room to get that lid on there. Okay, so I'm going to get some butterflies, and I'm getting some flowers ready to go for the outside and a couple on the inside. But now I want to get some butterflies ready and get my Nuvo drops in there. So I'm going to get some colorful ones here. And I'm just going to look in my reserves for some paper that I can punch. And I may not use all of these, but it will give me a variety of what I want to do. And since I don't know which butterflies or which side I'm going to use quite yet, I'm going to hold off from actually putting my Nuvo drops on it, because I can always do that later. Just so that I think it will, for me, it works better for me to wait to see what everything kind of looks like first. Okay, so for now, let's just close this up and set this off to the side. We're going to grab our lid, and we're going to start covering that. The first thing I'm going to do is actually put my lid on my piece. It makes it so much easier with gluing down pieces. So I've got that off to the side. In our reserves, we will find this sheet. On the back, it looks like this. And on this one, I'm going to be using this pretty green for the outside. So looking at your paper like this, measure over 2 inches and cut, measure over again 2 inches and cut, and measure over one more time 2 inches and cut. Okay, let's do that one more time on this last piece. Measure over 2 inches and cut. We have 4 strips. Set one off to the side. And on 3 of these, we have the front, the top, and the back. However, if you were to place this down, you will notice it's going to be a little bit too long. So we're going to trim those down. On all 3 of these, we're going to measure over 6 inches and cut. Okay, I'm going to lay mine. This is the front. And if I was to place this, this should fit nicely, giving us a top, a little bit of white showing. Don't worry about the lip down here. And we should have a little white on the sides for a border. And that should be the same for the top and the back as well. Let's glue all of our pieces down. This, this, and this. Okay, so I have mine down. This last piece is real easy. All we're going to do is measure over 2 inches and cut, measure over again 2 inches and cut. Okay, I've got my 2 pieces. This we'll put back in our reserves. Okay, we're going to apply glue and glue these down to the ends on both sides. So we have our box lid and all that ready to go. Let's do some decorating. Now, one thing I want to tell you is do not place anything bulky down on this, meaning you're not going to want any flowers to stick out. And the reason why is because when it places down, and if you have something bulky, you're not going to lay flat. So I'm going to put my lid back on here. Place this all back together. And I want to find a sentiment right here. There are a couple things that I want to get into for this piece. And the first thing is in your reserves you will find this piece. On the back it looks like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if you notice, it almost looks like a heart here in the little fence or gate. I'm going to cut out and around to create a heart, and I'm going to show you what mine looks like. So this is what mine looks like here. Just real simple. Grab a piece of your cardstock, and all we're going to do with this, now if you have an ink or something that you'd like to go around the outside edges with, do so. But let's apply glue to the back of this and paste it down onto some white cardstock. Then what we're going to do is we're going to cut out and around the heart and leave a little bit of a white border of this cardstock showing all the way around. So number 1, it's going to thicken up this piece. Number 2, it's going to highlight around it. So let's do that. This is what mine looks like. And it's kind of hard to see because it's white around there. But it is there. Next, let's fussy cut around these birds and get those out. And I'll show you what mine looks like. Here are mine. And we'll just set that down. Now in your paper pack, you will find this sheet. It's the very last sheet, and on the back, it's green. Let's see. I'm going to cut out this bottom one that says spread your wings and fly. Okay, so what I am after is the spread your wings and fly. And all I'm going to do is cut that part out. So I'm just going to take my scissors to do this. I think you can see that. Apply glue to the back of this, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to place this down on white cardstock, leaving a little bit of a white border all the way around. So we'll be cutting out and around that once we glue it to it. Here is mine, and I'm just going to set that right on down. In your reserves, you will find this sheet with the borders. On the back, it looks like this. Let's go ahead and just cut and divide each one of these little trim borders up. So this is where you get to choose which border you would like to use around the bottom portion of your lid. I'm choosing this one. To me, I think that looks the best. My other trim can go in my reserves. So we're probably going to need 2 of these, so we're going to have to get out our other one that's in our paper pack. So you will also have this one, the same thing with the borders. I'm going to trim off this part, and I'm going to trim off this border to get to this one. So let's do that. We'll get it all ready to go. Okay, I got both my strips. All I'm going to do is fit this to go from side to side. It's going to be even with the sides of the green portion. You can do the same measurements we did before, or just use a pencil to mark where you need to cut. And for me, I'm just going to use a pencil and cut. So I'm going to be doing this all the way around this lid. So as soon as I cut that, I can glue it down. Then I'm going to take this piece, cut it, glue it down, and the same thing. And then of course I'll be needing this one too. So let's do that. Okay, I've got my lid on here. Looks good. It's time to get the heart on. Grab a scratch piece of cardstock, if you can slide that right underneath the lid there. So any glue that gets over the edge will not get on your paper. First thing we're going to do is glue this in the center, and it will overhang some. So I don't need glue for the entire piece, maybe about this much. And I'm going to place this centered. Okay, spread your wings and fly. We're going to place that right there. I'm going to be placing some flowers right here at the top, and I've got 3. I'm going to grab my hot glue gun for this. And I use the Nouveau Pearl Drops in the center. And I've got a smaller one. That looks good. I have a couple of flowers right over here that I'm going to place. And I'll just use my glue for this. There we go. And those have the Nouveau Drops in them. Okay, let's take off the lids. We'll use those birds on the inside. And I think that looks really cute. The birds. Right here, right down here in the corner on this little pocket. There we go. Okay, so I've got my lid back here. I was looking around what I was missing. It's one of my butterflies. So I made a butterfly, and as you can see, I've got the Nouveau Drops on the wings as little pearls, and in the inside, I've got like a long oval one in there. So on my lid, I'm going to stick one right here, right like that. I've got another butterfly to add to my lid there. I'll just stick it right here, and I did the same thing. I have the Nouveau Drops. In case any of you are having difficulty or don't really know how to use the Nouveau Drops, let me zoom in really quick. So all we're going to do, and you have to let it dry. When using the Nouveau Drops, the best way to do it is not come at it at an angle. Put it upright. Okay, but I am going to put it at an angle so that I can show you. But for best results, up and down. So I'm going to make a pearl right here, and I think you can see that. My technique is just to bring it till I see it. Now don't drag the tip onto the cardstock. You're going to keep it lifted and pull up and swirl. And you, whoops, where's that camera? There it is. And you should be able to get one of those. So I'm going to do another one down here. And the more you squeeze, the bigger the pearl that you can create. So I wanted little dainty ones. That's how I did it. Now for the inside, for that one, all I did was I squirted and dragged it downward to create that little piece inside. So once this dries, then I can place it in here. So I'm going to set that off to the side. Find this out of your reserves. Measure over 1.5 inches and cut. All right, let's get our scoring boards out. And we're going to lay this so it is long ways across our board. Okay, at 4 3/4 score, and at looks like I'm at 7/8 of an inch we're gonna score. So this is going to be our little pocket for our stamp. Okay, let's fold on those score lines really good. Okay, the shorter piece up here is the flap that comes over the top. So this just kind of is going to fold over like this and open up. Let's get our little piece for inside here. Find a scrap piece of your cardstock, and I chose this one. I'm going to measure over 1.5 inches and cut. That's all I need. And as far as this way, I'm about 1 inch. So 1 inch by 1.5. Okay, down here at your crease, all we're going to do is glue that. So that is a little pocket to hold. And all we do is put a light bit of glue right on the sides and down the bottom. Now where it folds up, you'll just bring that, match it up with your sides. So this is now your little thing to hold your stamps. And I have my stamps. All I have left is my Christmas stamps here, it looks like. So I'll just slide that in. It should fit. And I can close it up. This should fit in the pocket. It may not go all the way down, but that's okay. It's good enough. It slides in and it holds it. Now one thing that you may want to do is take your bone folder, make sure you are down. And I also want to put something right here. And that would be a great place for, I think, my butterfly right here. So I'm just going to add a little glue and glue that down. Remember, you don't want to be too bulky. So it's more of a flat one. And I'll let that dry. And I'm just going to slide that right on in there. Another thing that you can also do is add trim if you wanted. I don't think that's dry yet. I can cut a piece of that trim and I can go as wide as I want. And I can cut this down to be smaller. Oh, I like that. So I'm going to grab this back out. I'm going to measure how far over I would need to be here and snip it. So this is on the top portion of our little flap. I like that, and I'm going to glue that down. And my butterfly will flatten out as soon as I close this all up. Okay, so I have that here for sentiments. Okay, you have a lot of these, and it was in our reserves. I'm going to trim this off. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out each one of these sentiments separately. And those are going to go in my pocket. So let's do that. Now while you're cutting these out, the sentiments, you're going to want to cut these out as well. And your tags. So let's get that all ready to go, and we'll do a few together as well as a card together. Okay, so I've placed all my little sentiments in this little pocket, and I cut some of my tags out, which are going to fit in this pocket over here. So I just have to clean up a few things here by going around the edges. So one thing that I like to do with my tags is to back them with a cardstock. So what I'm going to do is get some white cardstock. I'm going to mount them on to it, glue them down, and I'm going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a white border around it. I just think that it looks really finished that way, and it really helps the colors pop. So I'm going to do that with each one of my tags. Okay, so I'm just going to lay this like this. Maybe you can see my pockets here. So for the tags, As you can see, I've got a couple done already. I backed it with some white cardstock. For this, all I did was use a punch. And I'm just going to feed this right on through that hole there. Bring my things up, and voila. And there's more tags to cut out in this collection, which makes it nice. So, or you can make your own. So all I'm going to do here is just stick these right in that pocket, and they should fit nicely. Let's install the little paper piece that holds our pencil in place. I'm going to be grabbing this trim piece that I cut. You'll need a pencil. Now make sure that, a pencil or a pen, make sure that when you fold in the sides here, that your pencil fits in this space here. So let's start off by measuring, just do this by eyeball, or you can measure. I better give you the measurement. Let's start off with 1.5 inches, approximately. Okay, all we're going to do is wrap this around so it curves. Okay, so that will get us started. Place your pencil down here, and we will be trimming this because we don't need it. And you're just going to make that paper form around the pencil. Okay, and you can only go up so far because of this, so you don't want to get near it and crunch it all up. So what you're going to do is take a pencil, and I'm going to get my hands out of the way, but you see where this comes down and then meets the edge of this? Just make a pencil mark where you need to trim that. Place this down again so we know that that is going to fit there. And then we're going to do the same thing. We don't quite need that much. We only need a little bit. I'm just going to trim. So this is all done by eyeball because your pencil, the barrel of your pencil or your pen may not be the same as mine. So in the end, this is what your piece will look like. Where's my little pencil I was going to use? Here it is. It's not much, it's just enough to get over. Okay, while holding your pencil, and you can flare those out, your pencil in there, put your glue on that, line yourself up where it's supposed to be at the edge here, and press down. Now, once you have the form, pull this out so in case any glue gets in there. And we're just going to leave that alone. That is so simple. It's easy. See? And while it's gluing, you should still be able to slide that pencil in and out. Okay, the pencil, it is done. Or the pen holder, whichever you chose. Let's make one thing here, and then you guys can all continue on and do yours. Let's put one in the other pocket, our medium-sized pocket. And this is a good one to use. This is one of my cutouts. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 2 7/8 of an inch by 6 inches. Place it on your scoring board, you're 6 inches across, and we'll score that exactly at 3 inches, right down the middle. Let's fold on our score line there. Okay, fold that. So now apply glue to the back of this and mount that right in the middle. And that should fit nicely right in here. Okay, and you can put a whole bunch in here. Let's do one of these cards in the back together using the panels from our paper pack. I've got some also, before we start on the cards, I'm using regular envelopes, standard size envelopes here, and I got several of these. I can just put right in the back and they fit perfectly right in there. Okay, let's cut a piece of cardstock. So now I'm using my 8.5 by 11 white cardstock. And we are going to measure over 5.5 inches and cut that right down the middle. So this is 2 card bases for me. Grab your scoring board, place this down so we are 8.5 inches across the board. At 4.25, we're going to score our card base. And then we're going to fold on our score lines here. In your reserves, you should have this card front. Pretty much all you would have to do is just glue that right on down and your card is complete. So I'm going to apply glue to that and glue it down. That's how easy it is with this paper collection and Heartfelt Creations paper collection. Okay, I want to show you something for your sentiments. Since you don't know possibly where this card is going to be used, or if this is a gift to someone, you don't know if they're sending it out for a birthday, anniversary, or what. That's what these are for. So this one says just a note. Glue that right on down there. Look, your card is done. You can do that up here, here, anywhere you want. So that is why we cut the sentiments and put them in the pocket. So this card is done, and you can get even more. Fancier with your cards. Be careful of bulk, too much bulk, because you want to be able to put several cards in your stationery box. So here is another one, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this one. Okay, so here is a panel piece, but it is just way too big. And of course, this is too big of a card to fit in this. This is like Mongo big card. So, but I still want to use this on one of my cards. So what I'm going to do is just kind of see where I need to be if I was to center this side by side. I can make pencil marks there, just leaving a little bit of a white border side to side. And I can trim this. And then what I'm going to do is trim this around to fit on there. I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm finished. So at first glance, it looks like it's cut off. But part of the cuttings up there, I was able to cut some green strips that match into the green sides. So all I'm going to do is glue this down center. Take one of my green strips, match it up down here. Match it up here. And this card will look finished. So let me glue it all down and show you. Okay, there it is. Now if you want to cut a different green strip to match up the thickness up in here and here, you can. So you can either stamp your sentiment, which would look really cool right in here, or use the provided little, and then maybe add a little butterfly to the card front. So something easy, especially if this is a gift for someone who does not make cards. You're going to want to make sure that the cards are easy to put together. Okay, so I'm going to finish up making some cards, and then I will be back and I will show you what my completed stationery box looks like. So your diamond stickles, what are we using that for, as I haven't talked much about it? This is great for card decorating and also adding on top of your flowers. Your flowers, if you were hand making, you put the Wink of Stella on there, but you can also accent certain things. For instance, I'm accenting his wings. So as you can see, the card now becomes sparkly, and so did the butterfly. So I've got my box completed, and I added my stickles to the flowers. I even added them, dotted them inside these flowers on the print all the way around, as well as going around the heart like I showed you, my butterflies a little bit here and there. Okay, I'm going to take off the lid and flop it open. Now I have mine pretty well full here, and I also have a couple cards that are still drying over here with my Nuvo drops or my stickles. Alrighty, so this is a card that I'm waiting to dry. I did apply the stickles on the wings. I don't know if you can see that. And then I dotted it in the middle of my flowers. I got some on my butterfly. This is a card I created. And let's take a look in what I have in this first one. I'm going to bend mine back so you can kind of see what I'm getting at here. I found a bunch of clippings here that can be used on cards, and I did use on some cards here, some of these, but I clipped some of these out. Have a beautiful day, let love bloom, you are my everything. Now these can also be kept down in here, and I did add stickles to the wings of my birds and my flowers. So that's somewhere you can store these too, right in there. Okay, I have some tags. These can be done as tags as well. Over here I have some smaller cards. I have one of these cards. I made this one. We did that one together. And I did some of these smaller ones like so. Oh, I got some glue or something on there. So I'm going to lay this all out so you can see exactly how much I've got in here. All right, envelopes. I believe I have about 10 envelopes in here. 1, 2, 3. Yep, about 10 of these envelopes in here. Cards, and this may give you some ideas. So here is a basic card, and I haven't put a sentiment on it. Here is another card. And you can either stamp or use one of your sentiments from the paper collection. Here is another simple card. And if you're a card maker, feel free to really dazzle these up. I did use a die cut that I found, and I'll get to that card just to kind of show you different things you can do by piecing your scraps together. Here's one, this one, and I used one of those longer trim pieces. This is one that I did, and all I did was add this die cut, and I can stamp right in the center or use one of my sentiments. And this one, very easy, and I believe we did one of these in the beginning. And these have the whiter white outside. And these, what I did was, if you notice that there is less of a white border, I just cut it down. So as you can see, and I probably could have gotten a couple more things in there, but I didn't want to bow out my box very much. So that is what I have done. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, message me, do whatever it is that you'd like to do to communicate with me. Maybe you have a question, a concern, anything. You can directly message me through the YouTube channel, or you can hop on over to Facebook. I do have a few different Facebook accounts. My personal one, Shellie Geigle, is Shellie Heart Geigle. Feel free to send me a friend request. We also have JS Hobbies and Crafts Facebook page, and then Designs by Shellie, which is me. Happy crafting, everyone. I will see you for my next tutorial, which is this 8x8 mini album.